Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode with the Shed King. In this episode, we're going to turbo a stock 3RZ. Guys, so I've got Andrew here helping us out with this this build. It's a friend of ours, friend of the channel. Anyway, let's show you what came in the post this week. We have a Gen 2 3076 with a .106 rear, and the reason why we went with this exact turbo is because he wants 500 horsepower eventually. This is not the setup for 500 horsepower, but he's foolproofed himself by getting the right size turbo and the right size rear housing to go to his goal. I said that otherwise you're going to have to take it off and redo it. It's no point, just do it once. Anyway, so for the moment we're going to do a stock ECU setup on this. At the moment Andrew is pulling off the drag link. We're going to pull the cross member out, pull the sump off, do an exchange sump, and then start doing exhaust stuff and bits and pieces. And anyway, we'll show you exactly how it all goes together. Hold on tight because this is going to be one hell of a ride. Sorry to get you out of bed nice and early, mate. Right, let's talk them through it. So we're going to Andrew's taking the drag link out, which goes across here, which connects his two steering arms together, which makes you steer. We're going to take this cross member out and then pull the sump out. So the sump's held on by about 20 bolts, is it? It's about 20 something bolts. Anyway, we'll drop the sump, weld the fitting on, chuck it back on, and then we're going to start working from the top back down.
And go ahead, Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Blue Medina, always beaming, rag top, chrome pipes, blue lights, out of sight, long weed, sold in, say it again, sold in, make that money, throw it in, booty bouncing, go ahead, Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Blue Medina, always beaming, rag top, chrome pipes, blue lights, out of sight, long weed, sold in, say it again, sold in, make that money, throw it in, booty bouncing, go ahead, Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Blue Medina, always beaming, rag top, chrome pipes, blue lights, out of sight, long weed, sold in, say it again, sold in, make that money, throw
Alright guys, so the sump is on, the returns all lined up. We've still got to mount the turbo manifold, and I had to remake it and put a wastegate on there because we changed direction with that. Anyway, that's pretty straightforward. This is the fuel pressure return. So this line here, you can see the gauge there. That is your return line which holds the pressure. That returns goes back to the fuel tank, that line down there, which is all your factory stuff. So the only thing other than the ECU is this that controls, which we've teed off here, comes out of the plenum chamber. For this vacuum line, as soon as this gets boost, it actually increases the fuel pressure. That's why it makes it work. But anyway, this kit he bought was off a 2TR, so we'll have to cut the flange off the turbo manifold and do a few things, and also the intake pipe just doesn't even go close to working. So we've got a few things to make it work, and bits and pieces which we've got over here on the floor. So there's our last few bits, all from Aeroflow, all the good stuff. I've got to cut this here somewhere and connect that into the intake pipe as well, so it goes 4" to 3". It's massively too big at the minute, but we cut it down to the size we want, and that will control make the mass airflow sensor work anyway, which will sit somewhere here. So that's happy days. Andrew's doing all the water and oil feed lines. Well, you've done the oil feed. So we steal the oil feed out of the back. You can see it here, out of the back of the oil reservoir for the filter. So there's 2 bolts on most of these. There's one on this side. There's one there, you can't see it. And then there's one at the back. Now you can choose either one. And what we're doing for coolant is this hard line here comes from around the back of the engine and comes from the other side of the thermostat. You can see it down there. Now this coolant line is what we're going to use. So one's going to be a feed, and then it'll come out of the turbo and back into there. Now this is just like the closest and easiest way to do it. So we encourage anyone to do it this way because it's just really easy. Anyway, so that's how we're stealing the coolant and the water. You would have seen the sump being put on, so that's where the oil drains. That's the real key to this whole build, is stealing the oil from there. So it's got nice clean oil straight out of the filter, and then you've got coolant straight out of there to keep your turbo at temperature, and that way you don't have to move too many things around and make it all work. So the only other thing I'd probably do is change the fuel filter. And see how we go for time. That's the only other thing I'd change. But other than that, it's pretty much a walk in the park, eh, mate?
Yep, getting there.
Yeah, boy. Alright, guys, well, we're going to put it back on the time lapse, and you get to watch the last few bits and pieces go together.
Your love is rated X. That means you're extra extraordinary.
Me and Andrew have made an utter mess, haven't we, mate?
Yep.
Made an absolute mess. It's what, yeah, it's kind of what we do. This has turned out really neat. This is why I run the forward-facing intake. This is why I make them, because of this extra piping that goes all the way down into here. I had a little accident, cut my finger. It kind of deletes all that and just tidies up the engine bay a whole lot. But anyway, the idea of this is to make it look nice and tidy. You can't even see the intercooler in there, it's that hidden. Andrew did a wonderful job shaving the back of the grill out. So the intercooler popping comes through there, as you can just see, and it also comes through here, as you can see. Comes out, Donnie's into the intercooler. You would have seen that as the pictures went. Donnie out of the turbo. We've got a 45mm wastegate, a GDX Gen 2 3076 with a 1.06 rear, 3-inch all the way through, 2.5-inch feed, 3-inch. We will upgrade. We'll probably in the long run, you'll probably put a forward-facing intake on this and run 3-inch out the cold side into the intake. But for the moment, this is probably like a 200 horsepower setup. Just run it, like it may even might make 180, you never know. But Andrew's actually never driven a boosted stock 3RZ on a stock ECU, so I'm hoping to film his reaction, which should be fun because it's actually quite good. It's really surprising how good these things go with a bit of boost to them. But anyway, we're going to keep chugging along because it's been one hell of a day / night, and we're just going to finish off this exhaust, this never-ending masterpiece. A few more bits and pieces to go and we'll get us started and go for a little drive. It's in the middle of the night, LEDs, which makes the camera go all funny. We're just putting along, just getting the ECU used to the boost, so slowly introducing it, 500 RPM at a time. Yeah, it's going all well. Everything's, we'll give it a little hit around the corner here, and so you can listen to it. This is all 80k zone, so we're not breaking any speed limits. Righto guys, so that's the end of the video. Me and Andrew just took it for a drive around the block. What were your thoughts, Andrew?
That's a different car. That is a different car. Responsive, twice the horsepower easily.
Yeah? So, Andrew's actually never driven one on a stock ECU setup, and straight away he's like, "Wow, this thing just wants to rev." Like, you'll notice when you drive a stock Hilux, like we were saying this just before, you sort of want to change gear about 3,000 RPM because it just like runs out of puff. It's just all torque up until about 3 grand, and then with the turbo, and it's perfectly sized. With the 3076, it just wants to just keep revving. Even though it's 7 pounder boost, it just loves it. But overall, I'm really happy with it. It turned out really well. It's quite noisy. We need to probably put a smaller muffler on it.
It does have a bit of a
a bigger muffler. Might be a bit of a dingle in it, whatever. Anyway guys, I hope everyone's doing really well. I hope everyone's surviving through this corona crap. I hope it ends soon. It's a bit of a joke. Well, not really a joke, but it's pretty full on, so...
Good excuse to get out the shed and...
Yeah, do stuff. Make this stuff. If you want to do something similar like this, get in contact with us. We're happy to do it. It's just, it's the time thing. We both have kids and lives and wives and families and stuff and work, so it's quite difficult to fit it all in. Any wiring stuff, hit up this guy, the Loom Man. Big shout out to Golby's, massive shout out to Golby's. They're the ones who supplied the turbo, the wastegate, the 45mm Gen 5 wastegate, the GDX. So the turbo is a GDX Gen 2 3076. So it's the latest and the greatest. Then it goes up to the new G series, which is what I got. They're at a good $800, so cheaper to get the Gen 2 than it is to get the G30. But the G30 is, as you've seen in my car, it is incredible. So it speaks for itself. But if you're after a good setup like this is what I would do. Wouldn't you recommend it?
Oh, definitely,
Yeah?
definitely. If you're going to do it, I think definitely worthwhile going with the Garrett turbo over some Chinese turbo. This setup will be capable of probably 600 with supporting mods and not needing to change the hot side. Yet drives awesome on 7 pound with a stock ECU.
Yeah. So you're probably thinking, what is the next step from here? Now, we were just talking about this, and it's Andrew's forte. He'd make the loom for you, install the ECU. You need bigger injectors, and you need a big fuel pump. And that's basically it. And you can push it probably stock as it is. I've seen them make 530 horsepower unopened. And it ran for 9 years, was it?
Something like that.
Yeah, 9 years.
I think 400 is
Sort of
a
safe.
good safe number unopened.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be the limit of the throttle body anyway.
Yeah.
You could push to high 4s with some other bolt-ons, but once you get over that, you're talking built motor or...
Yeah, and E85. Because
Yeah.
the corn juice is the life. Anyway, guys, that's it. Hope everyone's doing really well, like I said before, and take care, and be good. Be good.